I pressed go live instead of adding TikTok. So we're a couple of seconds behind on TikTok. Okay, saving. And maybe that means things are going to work. I don't know. Hopefully this means it's doing things out of order or bad. But it worked. All right. We are live everywhere. Good morning. Hope you're doing well on this magical Wednesday. It is Wednesday all day, and this is Ask a Traffic Cop, your internet opportunity. Is that what it is? I think that's what we can call it. It's an internet opportunity to ask traffic and police questions to Traffic Cop. I'm that Traffic Cop, Sean Shapiro, and I am here for an hour sharing with you stuff and things. If I know things that I can share, I do. Emma, good morning. First person to drop into TikTok. How you doing? We have, it takes a few seconds for people to get notified. It's magical. Who do we have here? Allison Kisanth. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. There's the announcement saying it's time. Hey, Andrew, how you doing? Andrew's coming in by LinkedIn. And, Andrew wants to know if there's a minimum height to drive a motor vehicle. And I don't believe there is. There's no height requirement. There's a vision requirement, but no height requirement. Interesting. Angela Topping, whose birthday was yesterday, but who would like to ride out the birthday week. I do that. I appreciate that. So it's a birthday week. So happy birthday to you, Angela. We've got Tracy, Zany, and with good morning messages. Good day to you all. To the regular gang. Very cool. For those of you who are new to the show, this is basically a show all about you. It's for you. And it works like this. If you ask questions, we answer questions. If you don't ask questions, we'll talk about the weather. It's just so simple. But it really is an opportunity for us to reach out and have some connection to it's just an opportunity to chat and answer the questions that you want answers to. But again, if you don't ask questions, we don't know what you want to know. We're currently broadcasting on TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Twitter does not work for questions. It used to. It broke. I don't know if it's ever coming back, but it is something that we would like to see again. And that just allows us to easily see your questions. No, let me rephrase. On YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, and Facebook, we can easily see your questions, and we can do things like throwing your question up on screen easily. Now, JD's the producer. He's the engineer, the producer. I don't know. He's the guy who's helping us take the chat from TikTok and put it over into the main screen, so I can actually put it on screen. Tim Shallow, by the way, good morning to you. And let's see here. What else are we talking about? Oh, yeah. So if you're on TikTok, it's going to be some manual stuff. If you're on Instagram, it's actually a vertical video, and it's a different device. I'm actually looking into a cell phone here to go to Instagram Live, because we haven't got the feature yet. When Instagram Live is offered from the desktop, we'll be able to have the same stream on all platforms, and I can put away this silly phone. But until that happens, I'm answering questions separately there. And good morning to Crystal, who sends a message hoping that I'm doing well. And I am. Thank you so much for asking. Okay. What else we got here? We've got Daniel. He's coming in from LinkedIn. Hey, Sean, thanks for commenting on the photo radar conversation this morning. Thank you for being part of it too. You know what? So here's what happened, and I can pull it up so I can have some. I can offer you some context as to what this conversation is. Essentially, an article was posted and it said, you know what the annoying thing about traffic cameras is? And I thought this is perfect. Let's talk about it. So it says here, it was something that Karen Bowman from Turf posted. It says, here's the really annoying thing about speed cameras. They work. And this was a CBC News article. And it talks about how much of an impact they're making in the environments that they are in. And this was based on some, specifically in Ottawa, severe reductions of speeding in the areas that they were implemented. Which brings me up to the question that I posted, because I said, well, if they're working there, and our goal is to reduce speed because speed is known to cause serious injury and death, then maybe we should put them everywhere. So I wanted to engage that conversation, and I did. We'll talk more about that because some people had some interesting responses. Before we get too deep into the weeds about that particular conversation, I want to briefly cover. What do I want to cover? I want to cover VSET. Uh, Sorry, my poor attempts for humor in the morning. I'm a little giddy on this Wednesday morning. I don't know. I think it's because I didn't sleep very well. I had children with nightmares last night, yeah, they were busy not being happy. So uh, I means I was awake. Okay, so March 29th, that's today. Vision Zero enforcement officers are focused on Vision Zero in 31 Division and 33 Division. Well, what are Vision Zero officers and what are those divisions? First off, Vision Zero is a concept, and it's all about making the road safer for everybody because we believe that, well, serious injury and death on our roads is unacceptable. It's totally preventable because it's based on decisions that drivers make. When they engage in behaviors such as speeding, aggressive driving, distracted driving, and impaired driving, they're engaging behavior that's known to be dangerous. And our Vision Zero enforcement officers are out there trying to change driver behavior one ticket at a time. And it's good work that they do. So where are they today? They are in the neighborhoods of Black Creek, Humbermead, Glenfield, Downsview, Parkwoods, Donalda, Bayview Village, York Mills. Those are neighborhoods where real people live, work, and play and deserve to be safe. Now, if I have not mentioned a neighborhood in those divisions or that those divisions serve, it's only because I haven't found a hashtag that represents a well-known community. Want yours to be hashtagged so that we can notify you when we go there? Please let me know. Tweet back, go onto our Twitter. It's at Traffic Services. Let us know that you want your hashtag to be represented, and I will make a change and include it. All right. I will come. Daniel, I'm going to come back to the conversation about the cameras because I want to get a couple of questions in because that's really what we're about. But I'm definitely going to circle back and discuss some of the comments made on LinkedIn about this because I was pretty shocked about some of them. Okay. Tim said, hello. Just Jack asks a question. Why are there helicopters all over downtown Toronto? I don't know. I'm not aware of helicopters being anywhere. Toronto Police doesn't have our own. We will occasionally borrow someone else's if we need it. Might be newscopters. I don't know what's going on in terms of collisions because I am in my bubble and not dealing with up to the minute updates. But it could be ambulance helicopters. It could be or Orange. They do a lot of flying around, and then they are also the news helicopters. But I don't know of any other helicopters that are being busy in our area usually. Here's a great question, and it's one I haven't heard in a while. Is a photo of your license on your phone accepted? So under the Highway Traffic Act in Ontario, you are required to surrender your driver's license, not a photo representation of, but your actual driver's license for reasonable inspection by a police officer upon demand. If you don't, it's a $110 ticket. And no, again, a photocopy or a photo does not cover it. There will one day be an opportunity to have digital versions that are through a secure app and provide security features. That has not happened yet, and no idea when. It was actually announced that it was going to be by the end of last year. That time came and went, and it has not happened yet. So we don't know when that's going to happen. But I look forward to the day when there's options because I know how difficult it is for people to carry a wallet these days. We seem to be digital everything, and you can carry a digital copy of your insurance card. It's not a photo of it, but a digital app that has a secured, verifiable version or representation that is supplied by your insurance provider. My insurance provider does not provide that, so I can't use that. Something I didn't mention earlier, but I want to mention now is if you don't already follow us, please follow us. That's actually not what I was going to go with, but it's important. You should be following us on all of our social media platforms. One of those happens to be this little orange peace sign. That is the icon for Volley. Volley is a platform that we use. It allows you to send us video, voice, or text. And we have a number of folks who are there and share questions every day. Well, Michael's on there, and he's already got a couple posted, and you can be on there too. If you send us video or voice, we can play it on the show. Now, the concept of following us, you can get onto all of our platforms by going to trafficcop.ca. Not only does trafficcop.ca have all sorts of fantasticness, it has useful links. So it's all our socials and more, but links to renew your license plate because there's a lot of people who have not renewed. It's free for most vehicles anyway. And if you don't do it, you're going to get a $110 ticket. So to avoid that, I would strongly suggest going to trafficcop.ca and using the links to renew. Now, just because I want to demonstrate something, I'm going to put it on screen because we have the technology. Window, clickety-doo, there we go. So these are some of those useful links. Renew your license plate, driver's license check. Why would you need to check someone's driver's license? Well, if you're going to loan your car to a friend, you want to make sure that they have a license. Why? Because you're actually responsible when loaning it to them. And you can be charged under the Highway Traffic Act if you loan an unlicensed or suspended driver, or a driver who's not licensed for that class of vehicle even. You can be charged, not suspended. If you are a new resident or visitor to Ontario, you want to know what the rules are, then you can go and check out this website that gives you all the details for every province. Good things to know. Now, if you're going to be buying a motor vehicle, check using this website to check to see if the VIN number's on the list of vehicles that are stolen, because it would be a bad idea to buy one that is stolen. You lose your money. You don't get to keep the car. The rightful owner, when we recover it, they get the car. There's all sorts of issues, and Sergeant Campbell, who's not joining us today, was talking about it yesterday. There's people who steal cars, modify the VIN numbers, sell them, and they are pretty, what's the word I'm looking for? Sophisticated. But you got to do what you can do to protect yourself. Okay. We've got Cold has a question, and that's no PS5 while I drive. Yeah, that's distracted driving, because that's going to be an entertainment device or screen visible to driver, depending on how you set it up. I guess PS5 would have to be a remote screen. So although I've seen PS5s or at least PlayStations wired into some electric cars, some EVs that are being showcased in auto shows, those features should not be available when you're driving. And if they are and you're using them, you could be charged. And should be charged, because that's bad. Good morning to my wife, who is watching from home. Hello. And Daniel is going to hang around until we go back to some of those questions we were discussing earlier about, or comments, I should say, on my LinkedIn about the discussion of traffic cameras and enforcement. Because how on earth do we make people fall in line when it comes to following the law if they are actively choosing not to? Because speeding, like many other things, are active choices. No one forces you to speed, despite the fact that some people like to believe that they are being forced to speed because everybody else is speeding. But we'll talk about that more in a moment. Leah Wife says you can always check TPOC for police-related information. So TPOC is, we have actually a Toronto Police Operations Center has a Twitter account. So if you go to their Twitter account, you can certainly follow along for some great information, updates, collisions, things that you need to know about the city of Toronto if you're in the city of Toronto. It may not be so relevant if you're outside. Okay. Does a G2 driver need to have insurance in their name to drive? Depends. Depends on what you're driving, whose vehicle you're driving. Now, the vehicle itself has to be insured. That is a requirement. In the event that you are driving somebody else's car, they give you permission to use it, and it's insured. You're a licensed driver. You can borrow that car. If you live with the driver, that's when things change. If you live in the same household, very often the insurance company will want you to be listed as a secondary driver, and you need to know what their rules are, because it depends. Their rules might suggest that you have to, or not suggest, may demand that you have to. And if you don't, and you're involved in a collision and they find out that you were the driver, well, then they may choose to deny your claim. And that would not be fun, because insurance is one of those things that no one wants to pay into. But when they need the payout, like to replace the car that was damaged, it's important to have insurance. Okay. So, and Daniel, we're going to circle back and talk about this camera business and the comments that were left. But to address your follow-up is, what about a photocopy of registration? So, very good point. A photocopy of registration. You have to, when you're pulled over by a police officer, you are given a demand: license, ownership, and ownership or plate registration. Same thing. Two sides of the same piece of document. Document. And of course, your insurance proof. The original license is what has to be surrendered. Your either original paper, or an electronic version for insurance. But as Daniel brings up, you can use a true copy, a photocopy of both sides of a valid registration document. Now, that is something that's acceptable, and we suggest, because you don't want to leave your original in the car. In the event that your vehicle is broken into, they could steal your original, sign it, and effectively sell your vehicle, because bad people do bad things. So I keep my originals in my wallet or at home and keep a copy with me for the purposes of providing it to police. Okay, now we're going back to the discussion. Where is it? Here we go. Where'd it go? As I scroll and scroll and scroll, I appear to have lost it. I can't find it. Oh, here we go. Okay, this is my placeholder. So going into LinkedIn, And if you go to trafficcop.ca, you're welcome to follow me on LinkedIn, where I post things on a regular basis, like I post on other places. I post everywhere. But here we go. So discussing the article, which I need to pull up if I can find it. This is very unscripted. But here, where we go? Post. Here we go. So the comments were interesting. So here we go. One security officer said, "We're losing our freedom in this country." So that brings up an interesting question. What freedoms are we taking away by enforcing the Highway Traffic Act? Your driving is a privilege; it's not a right. So you don't have the freedom to break the rules. So are we infringing on your freedom by enforcing the rules? No. But it was an interesting perspective uh, because I like to hear all the views. And basically, my question is to that person: if we're infringing on your freedom to speed, which I argue isn't really a freedom at all, what about the freedom of people being safe on the roads? You're infringing on their ability to be safe. So, could we put traffic cameras everywhere and effectively enforce? And should we do what other people do, other places do? Because in Australia, for instance, traffic cameras, they take points away. It's not what we do here, where it's only a cash fine or a dollar amount, uh, ticket. There, it actually impacts the registered owner's license, changes things. Okay, there was also let's see here. We had a discussion. We had a lawyer who weighed in, and although they saw some huge savings in terms of money, they were concerned about what is this? Desire to control dangerous speeding in vulnerable areas. He questions whether if there's an empirical evidence that these cameras make us safer. So the discussion of just slowing people down and strict enforcement make us safer. Well, whether it works or it doesn't, the law says you can't speed. If you want to change the speed limits and change the law, you need to work on the lawmakers, not the enforcers of the law. It is an interesting concept. I personally believe very much that slower is safer because I know from having investigated lots of collisions that the faster you go, the more damage you create, the less reaction time you have, which then leads to a higher number of collisions. So speed is directly linked to killing people on the road, whether it be the driver or people that they happen to hit. Bad things happen when we mix speed. And then you add other factors like distraction, alcohol, bad things happen. Okay. But I think I think that it's always good to have conversation. And of course, Daniel weighed in with his thoughts as well, preferring actual traffic enforcement officers, which I like too, because then you really hold people accountable. But you know what? We don't have enough officers to cover every road all the time. And we are seeing people abuse speed limits and other traffic laws all the time, everywhere you go. I challenge you to find a road where all road users are all following the rules at all times. I don't think it exists. Okay. Moving on. Andy has a question. If I got a fine under the Off-Road Vehicle Act, would it be hard to get a license? Well, the Off-Road Vehicle Act is in my opinion and my belief, completely unrelated to the Highway Traffic Act and shouldn't change your ability to get a driver's license. Now, could it be something that possibly impacts your ability to get a job with the police because you're not following the rules? Maybe, but that's a background investigation thing versus a driver's license thing, and I don't believe they're at all connected. But it's an interesting question that I've never actually looked into. So I don't think that would change your ability to get a license, though. Okay, there's no background check on a driver's license. Maybe that's something we should do. How would that go? I don't think that would be very popular. Okay, Daniel weighing in on the discussion we were having about traffic cameras. He agrees that the police can't be everywhere, and I'm always for funding to help with. Sorry, always for more funding to help with traffic enforcement. You guys are already stretched thin, so I understand the aspect. Well, thank you. And again, my whole take on this concept was to trigger a conversation about traffic enforcement, making the roads safer. And I love it when people actually engage in questioning and discussing these things, because just reading a post or liking something really isn't the engagement. It doesn't show that you've actually taken the time to look at it. I really appreciate when people read things when I post. That's why I post them. Let's see here. Here is a new follower, Bejoy Samuel, or Samuel. You got to tell me how to pronounce your name because I'm possibly butchering it. Okay. Hey, Sean, good morning. I recently joined the channel. Is radar detectors illegal in Ontario? Yes, in fact, they are illegal. There's a $170 fine, and for whatever, either they've amended it or I've been wrong for a long time. I thought there were 2 demerit points. It's actually 3 demerit points. And officers, if they have a belief that you have one, have full search and seizure authority. Many people say, "Well, does that mean I can just put it in my pocket and get away with it?" Actually, we can search the contents of the vehicle as well as the people in the vehicle if we believe that you have one. And that covers more than radar detectors. It also includes laser jammers and devices that are designed to prevent police from measuring your speed and enforcing highway safety laws. So if you've got something there that's a jammer preventing us from getting an accurate read, and we pull you over, then we can search it. But it's $170, 3 demerit points, and don't be caught with it, because it's not only illegal to use, it's illegal to possess, buy, sell, transport. Like every aspect of it is prohibited. And if you look at the Highway Traffic Act, I think it's interesting, because I did a video on this recently on my TikTok channel, our TikTok channel, and we went into a deep dive argument, because there were a lot of people saying it's not illegal if it has to be in an original box. If you read the line by line in the HTA, it says in original, sealed from manufacturer, transport to the consignee. So that is a one way out of the province. It can't be used or opened here. It can't be repackaged here. So people say, well, what if I travel from the United States or a province where it's legal? Because some places, I don't know why, but some places do allow them. And what do you do with them? Well, the truth is that if you're not using it, if it's not attached in plain view and it's not being used, you probably won't have an issue. We probably won't know about it. I would suggest not bringing it to the province at all. But if you happen to be here and you didn't realize until you got here, putting it in the trunk's pretty good idea. But again, we're not going to be looking for it unless we have reason to be looking for it. Still illegal, though. Okay. Can you talk about loud exhausts? What do you want me to say about loud exhausts? They are not legal. You have to have an exhaust. It has to include a muffler and a resonator. Now, some people say, well, what if I put a turbo in? Does that negate the need to have a muffler in the system? There are cars that are designed without a muffler, but they have multiple resonators or a turbo in conjunction with, like the Fiat 500. I think it's such a small engine that it doesn't actually have a muffler. There's also there's a couple of smaller cars that have other things going on, and they've passed from manufacturer that way. But if your vehicle was manufactured with a muffler, with a resonator, and it passed with it, that's how it's supposed to be run. Now, can you have aftermarket? Sure, you can have aftermarket, but it has to meet or exceed the minimum requirements to be on the road. You can't put an aftermarket racing muffler on and expect not to have a problem. It's a problem. People talk about catalytic converters. You got to have catalytic converters. That's even a more serious issue. And then there's people who have been victim to crime and they've been stolen. They've had their catalytic converter removed against their will while they were parked in a parking lot somewhere. And thieves are looking for the contents. There's some very expensive metals that are inside of catalytic converters, so the theft of those are high. But I've seen some pretty amazing videos, people putting some interesting prevention methods in place. Like I've seen people weld barbed wire to the bottom of their vehicle to avoid having their stuff stolen. Not saying that's a good idea, just saying it's interesting to the lengths that some people have gone. But that's neither here nor there. At the end of the day, if you're making unnecessary noise, you can get a charge, and that unnecessary noise could be in the form of your muffler, even if it's stock, just revving really high for no reason. It's not required. It's unnecessary. If you are playing your stereo too loudly, if you are, although it's covered by stunt driving as well, smoking or spinning your tires, that's creating unnecessary noise. So you could, I guess, get multiple charges, one for the noise and one for the stunt driving. At the end of the day, don't make a lot of noise. And if your muffler is really noisy, expect to be pulled over and see that kind of enforcement. It's one of the number one complaints we get from our residents, people who live close to roads, people who I live far from the main roads, and I still hear them whizzing up and down the road, making a racket, because motorcycles very often are the culprits, putting short pipes on or going straight pipe. It's horrible. It's horrible for the people who are trying to sleep. I go to bed early because I get up early. So I'm someone who doesn't like it. But what about the people who work night shift, your doctors, your nurses? You kind of want them to have a good sleep, because if you're whizzing around on the road on your not saying you in particular, but if someone who is making all that noise needs a doctor or lawyer, you're not doctor or nurse, maybe they'll need a lawyer too if they get charged. But wouldn't you want them to have a good night's sleep? It's not a good move to negatively impact the community that you live in, or somebody else's community either. But I can totally understand and relate to the people who don't like the noise, because I don't like the noise either. I can appreciate the nice rumble of a big V8, but Do I need to annoy everybody in a 6-block radius? No, and neither should you. Let me know if you have more questions about exhausts. Dragon Queen, can you get a red light camera ticket reduced? Reduced to what? So there's no less. Not that I'm not aware of any lesser and included offense that you can plead down to. It is a ticket that has a dollar amount and no demerit points because it's to the registered owner, not to the driver. Can you negotiate a different price or a payment system? That's up to the courts. You can go and say, you know what, it's hard times. We're working paycheck to paycheck. I have a bunch of kids and I have family responsibilities, and I just can't pay this ticket right now, but I accept responsibility. And they can give you a payment plan. They can say, we'll give you $10 a month for X number of months, and as long as you pay it, you're okay. But if you miss a payment, you owe everything and you lose your license. That type of thing. They can do that. So talk to them. It's certainly worth the conversation because we understand that people do, and the courts are really understanding in that regard. Okay. What do we have here? If you have been interested, just waiting for an opportunity to join the Toronto Police Service, let's talk about how you might be able to do that. You have the best opportunity right now to join because we are hiring. It's amazing how that works. We hire, you can apply. Now, if you go to our website, tps.ca/careers, you can jump on and see all the information about every job that we have. You want to get details about the requirements to become a police officer? They're right here. Why'd that refresh that way? Okay. Here's the requirements, explaining what the roles and responsibilities, what kind of working schedule we have. They even introduce you to some of our ambassadors and some of our recruiters. Talk about how much money we make. This is usually something that really people find really important. And the truth is, it's less important than you might think. I think the money is a great thing, but the truth is, it's all about the job and making a difference in your community. This is not something you do for money. You can make money other places, and just explaining the whole process. Now that's for PC, but we have other positions. We have special constable, and when I started the service in 2000, I started as an auxiliary officer and as a special constable. So I guess I should talk about the volunteer program. Volunteers. I'm not in any of these photos, but there's a very low resolution picture of some magical people who volunteer their time with the service. So I did 12 years as an auxiliary while simultaneously working as a court officer. So I had two different uniforms to wear. But, when you go to major events, parades and such, these are, you see that little rocker underneath the Toronto Police logo? You can see where my mouse is. That's what says auxiliary. That's how you know it's a volunteer member. They're not police officers. They are civilians, volunteers. They're civilian volunteers who wear uniforms and go out and make a difference in their community. They are fantastic. I appreciate them. If you're an auxiliary officer and you're watching, thank you. I've been where you are. And there's a lot of people who are not using it as a stepping stone to become a police officer. They're just contributing to their community, which is awesome. 150 hours per year. I think when I started, it was 200 hours a year. In any case, there's those roles. There's other programs to be involved with as civilian volunteers that don't wear uniforms. Talked about special constable, working in the courts, working in our division, doing all sorts of stuff. Special constable, you can read about that. Okay, we have parking enforcement officers. Hey, there's Erin. I see, like, I'm surprised every time, even though I know she's there. Great information about becoming a parking enforcement officer. These are people who are helping to make our streets safer and keep traffic moving, which they don't get the kudos that they deserve. And of course, then there are civilian roles, to which there are many, although not necessarily all posted right now because there's only 2 currently posted. Let's see here. So this one is the administrative clerk temporary position. So it's not. I think how it works is that you're a temp and you don't have guaranteed hours, but you might be in a role for a period of time. You might, you have an opportunity after a certain period of time to become qualified. If you're interested in something like that, definitely reach out to our employment people. And then communications operator. Yeah, there's great opportunities. Very often, I like checking this all the time because there are tons of different jobs. It's not there are people in working in technology. We have an IT department. We have mechanics. We have everything under the sun. We're like a little city unto ourselves, and there's a place for you. So if you want to work for an amazing employer, check us out. Okay, we got a whole bunch of questions that came in the meantime. This is perfect. My stalling tactics worked. All right, let's see here. Tyler, can I get a ticket for underglow /neon lights on the underside of your vehicle? Can you get? Yes, you can. And it depends on how they're installed and what color they are and what they're doing. So if they're not flashing, that's a good thing. If they're visible, let me break it down this way. There's no underglow charge. There are, however, headlight charges for improper headlights and taillights and whatnot. You cannot have intermittent flashes of red light. That's one thing. But you also can only project white or yellow light to the front and red or amber to the rear. The only white light you can have to the back is going to be your license plate light and your reverse cameras. The license plate light doesn't actually project backwards, at least not to a concern level. And the reverse lights are only when you're reversing, so those aren't an issue. But if your underglow lights have bulbs visible to the sides and to the back and front, expect to be pulled over, expect to be charged. If the bulbs are completely hidden and it's only the ground that is illuminated, truly glowing, then that's not a problem. Let's see here. What are the violations you have looked out most on duty? So do you mean like what did I focus on when I was doing enforcement on the road? Because I'm not currently on the road. I was injured in a motorcycle collision a number of years ago. So since then, I've not been on the road. But when I was a motor squad officer and focused on enforcement duties, I was looking for distraction. I was looking for aggressive. I was looking for the big four. So speeding was a big one. I really enjoy speed enforcement because people need to slow down. They're being dangerous. Anything aggressive. So if you're running stop signs, running red lights, not looking out for pedestrians, not yielding to them, those are things that I like and think are important. So based on my bias of wanting to keep people safe, I would go out and enforce the ones that were most effective at doing that, in my opinion. I also, of course, look for distracted drivers because that is everywhere and it's a huge problem. But I also would regularly arrest impaired drivers. I would go out and this is before motor squad, but when I was working nights on my platoon, I'd go out and I'd come back with a couple of impaireds a night. It's happening all the time. It's just a matter of seeing what's out there, and there's people who need to be caught because they're doing the wrong thing. All right, so those are the things. It's everything. Anything I saw, I dealt with. Okay. Does oh, does a past arrest without conviction affect applicants assuming job with police? Uh, I'm not I don't work for employment. I don't have the firsthand experience to be able to give you a concrete answer. But my understanding is this: if you associate with people, and as a result of the associations you have with people who are getting arrested, and you maybe get arrested with them, that could definitely be something you have to articulate and justify. Could it prevent it? Could it prevent you from being hired? It could, uh, but it's not. Nothing's guaranteed. So talk to a recruiter. If you have been arrested in the past, but you were not convicted because you were just in the wrong place at the wrong time, it really wasn't what it looks like, then you need to explain that. But could it hurt you? It could. Will it prevent you from being a police officer? Maybe. Depends on you. Depends on the circumstances, and you'll need to explain it. But be honest. The biggest thing about this is be honest. If you try and cover up and cover and lie about it, that is what you're going to have the biggest problem with. Be honest. Okay. Daniel, the auxiliary program is such a great program. Great to see this program across many communities. Auxiliaries have been around since the beginning of time. In fact, the auxiliary program predates the Toronto Police Service. There was civil defense, which became, I believe, was molded into the auxiliary program. It's been around forever. And police services outside of Toronto have auxiliaries doing so much more than we do here. There's firearms training. In Toronto, there really isn't firearms training for auxiliaries. But in some communities, you're out there with the police doing police stuff. In fact, RCMP auxiliary used to carry firearms themselves. So very interesting stuff. We got a volley that's come in from, actually, I've been ignoring volley. Let's have a look at that. Okay. Okay. How long are you supposed to wait at a stop sign? So there's apparently a TikTok to watch about this. The deal is there's no specific amount of time. It's a complete stop. If you are coming to a complete stop where the vehicle is truly no longer in motion, you've met the requirements of stopping. Though what happens next depends on what observations you're making, because you have to wait until it's safe to proceed. You can't just stop and hammer the gas. You have to make sure it's safe. And I think a lot of drivers, one, don't understand what stopping means because they come rolling through a stop sign and then accelerate out of it. No, that's not. You get a ticket for that. That's wrong. The cyclists who go straight through at speed through stop signs and red lights, that's wrong, despite them thinking that it's okay because they're on a bike. Bicycles need to stop too. But Michael's posted some great information there, actually quoting HTA from the looks of it. What is up with aggression from G-Class? Some police haters act like they're the worst. Civilians, what are we talking about here? G-Class, I don't get what we're talking about. Okay. Michael's talking about stuff that it's not a question, Michael. Well, it is a question, but I don't understand the question. Kayla says, greetings and salutations. Can't make the show today and stuff and things and stuff. He wants to cancel his meetings. Michael posted a video of a lock. What is this?
Oh, this is BS. Luckily, I have a key on my house keys anyways.
Okay. Not a question. Okay, Michael, stick to questions in the Q&A section. Let's see here. That's all Q&A. So we have a bunch of stuff. We have a dad joke section, a random section, a general section, lots of stuff there. But those weren't helpful. But thanks very much for posting. I love the interaction, even if it isn't always on topic. Okay. What's a victim fine surcharge? Fantastic question. So when you look at a ticket issued in Ontario, and maybe in other places as well, there's something called a victim fine surcharge. I'm going to give you a great example. So let's say you are looking at a stop sign ticket. Pull it up. That's $110. But that $110 is including the victim fine surcharge, because the set fine for stop sign is actually only $85. So where does the rest of that money go? It goes into a fund that is awarded to victims of crime. So let's say you were robbed and beaten and you were injured, and you could apply to this fund and get money to help you because you were the victim of a crime. And it makes sense that people who are committing offenses, HTA or otherwise, contribute to that fine, to that fund, to help people, because they're contributing in their behavior to endangering those people. So that's what it is. A better answer is probably available with some homework, but that's the nuts and bolts. What is this? Oh, if I was a surety for someone and it didn't go well, can I still apply for a job with a TPS? That's a very good question. So first of all, for those who don't know what a surety is, if someone is arrested and held for a bail hearing, they may be released on a bail where they're on their own recognizance, where they get to go out and say, yeah, I promise I'll show up and not do anything bad. Or they may be given a cash bail. They have to put up money. Or a surety. So a surety is where somebody else basically accepts to be their jailer in the community. So let's say you live alone, but we can't trust you to live alone. So you're going to find your brother. Your brother says, I'll be surety, which means I'm going to take on the responsibility. In this case, for the sake of this description or this scenario, I'm the brother. I will take care of my brother and make sure he shows up for court and is at home and abides by his curfew and doesn't do anything wrong. And I'm going to take care of those responsibilities. And if I find out that my brother's breaking the rules, I, the surety, will call and have him arrested. That's what a surety does. So long story short, if you were a surety and it didn't go out because they didn't follow the rules, but you did what you were required to do under law, which is call the police and say, they're not following, I'm pulling my surety, then I don't think that would be something that negatively impacts you because you did what you were supposed to do. Now, if you didn't do what you were supposed to do and that person got out and did things, and you were just willfully ignoring your responsibilities as surety, sure, that could negatively impact you. But again, talk to a recruiter because they're the best source of information for recruiting. And where do you get that information? tps.ca/careers. Talk to a recruiter. They're there to help. They want to help you get a job. They do. That's their goal. Hire good people. And even if it didn't go well, it doesn't make you a bad person. It just means that there was a situation and you might be able to explain it. It may have been an old situation. You may have learned a lot from it. So just saying. Okay. Did I hit the right one? No, I did not. That's not the one I was going to hit, but that's the one I'm going to hit. So DW, I'll get you next one in a second. Nate 1994 says, on a divided roadway, are both directions of traffic required to stop for emergency vehicles? Okay, so there's the divided, which means there's a barrier, whether it be a patch of grass or a wall or what have you. That's a divided highway where you cannot drive from one version to the other. You can't drive across it. In those situations, only vehicles on the same side of the emergency vehicle, or school bus for that matter, have to pull over when they're hearing lights or sirens, or when or stop and not pass when they see the school bus lights. On an undivided highway where it's just a painted line dividing north and south, east and west, then all traffic has to stop. So it's a great question. Thanks for asking it, Nate. Okay, here we go. What is the difference? What's the difference What's the difference between 0.05 and 0.08? I should read them the same way. 0.05 and 0.08 DUI. So in Canada, and more specifically Ontario, or in Canada, 0.08 is criminal impaired. If you are 0.08 and above, you've broken a criminal law by driving a motor vehicle or a conveyance with that level of alcohol or above. 0.05 is the legal limit for driving under the Highway Traffic Act. So you're prohibited from driving if you're 0.05. So what happens if you get pulled over and you provide a roadside sample into a roadside screening device? Well, 0.05 is going to get you a 3-day suspension roadside or 7-day suspension if it's your second one within 10 years. That's still bad, but it's not criminal. You're just not going to be driving home. And there's consequences if you continue to have those. You can lose your license. 0.08, you're leaving in handcuffs. Most likely, you're going to be going for a secondary breath sample, or you could we're talking alcohol, but I was going to say is also impaired by drug, which is another situation. So, yeah, that's the difference. One's criminal, one's HTA only. Hope that answers your questions. If you've got more questions, feel free to ask. If you're not already following us, please do. And I've not reintroduced myself since probably 40 minutes ago. My name is Sean Shapiro. I'm Sean Shapiro, and this is Ask a Traffic Cop. I'm a police officer with the Toronto Police Service, and we go live Monday to Friday from 10 to 11 to answer your traffic and police questions. We do it because we want to be here as a resource for you. It's no different than if you met me on the side of the road or at a street corner or at an event in the community having a hamburger, which would be really nice right now because I could use a hamburger. But if you came up and asked me questions, this is the same thing. We're just having a nice little chat. And we're here to help. So follow us if you don't already follow us, and follow our channels because we're available on TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. And of course, we're also doing a podcast, which is somewhat infrequent. I'd hope to maintain once a week, but it's less frequent than that, but we still have great guests. We air that on all the channels except TikTok. And we also have it available for replay on YouTube under the TPS Traffic Jam. That's the name of the podcast. Okay. George, nice to catch the show today. George Maneri, TPS retired, and my good friend, who didn't need to say that he was TPS retired because I know exactly who he is. He and I worked closely together to design the transition to the TPS Motor Squad motorcycles. We actually created the retention system to take laptops and install them into the back of the motorcycles. So many people don't realize that motorcycles can do, we have electronic means of, we can do everything that you can do in a police car. We just had to create those. So we designed all the stuff. He made the magic happen. I designed and 3D produced the mounts, and it was a really cool project. I was really proud of that. So George, who is a good friend, was my partner on that project. Okay. So good to see you, George, and I'll talk to you soon. I got to give you a call. Is car theft in Ontario rising? I think car theft on the planet is rising. Criminals are looking for ways to make money. Something they do. Not that they. I'm not giving them a green light to make money, but apparently they like to make money, and they don't like to go to get to jobs and do it the way that everybody else does it. So they steal your car. It's not good. It is a problem, and we are always looking to find those people and hold them accountable by arresting them and charging them and prosecuting them. So, but it's definitely a problem. We've been seeing the numbers. If you look at the media, I'm not versed in what the actual numbers are beyond what I'm reading in the news like you are, but it's not cool. So we suggest doing things to reduce the chances of having your vehicle stolen, because it's not just luxury vehicles being stolen, it's all vehicles. Yeah, the luxury ones might find themselves on a container going to another country, but vehicles of all kinds are being stolen and being utilized for other crimes. So make your vehicle less susceptible or attractive to car thieves. Use something like the 1990s club. Is it a 90s club where you have that bar that locks into the steering wheel? It may only add 5 minutes of work for them to take it off, but that's 5 minutes less that they could, go to your neighbor's car. And I don't want your neighbor to get their car stolen either, but advice for you is utilize things to make it less attractive. Most criminals are lazy. They don't want to go to work, so they certainly don't want to work hard to steal your car. There's other things like having good lighting in your, in front of your home or wherever you park, parking in safe places. and not to, there's all sorts of different ways people steal things. Like there's the relay thefts where they have these proximity key antennas that will copy or broadcast your keys remote to a computer, which they can then rebroadcast to the car. VIN numbers, they go to unscrupulous dealers and get copies of your key made. They just walk up and steal your car with an equivalent to an original key. So there's lots of things that you can do to make it more difficult to steal your car, and you should probably do all of them. Okay. Oh, here's a great question. Lee Harvey wants to know, what if I stunt drive past a speed camera? What would happen? Funny you should say that. So it wouldn't qualify for stunt driving per se. We wouldn't be able to seize your car. And it wouldn't even be us. It would be the city of Toronto who employs this, runs the program. But if you were to drive, if you would have trigger a no set fine ticket, they would have to come and serve you. And they'd serve you with a summons to take you directly to court. So that's happened. It happens. And the bigger question is, why would you care? Because you shouldn't be stunt driving. You should slow down. Nobody should be stunt driving. And I'm a big proponent of holding people accountable, if you hadn't noticed. So if someone's stunt driving, I think they should lose their license and then some. And actually, if you look at stunt driving, let's take away from speed cameras. Stunt driving on your first conviction is going to take, aside from the fact that roadside, you're going to get an administrative suspension of 30 days on your license and 14 days impound of your vehicle, which is going to cost you a bunch of money. Once you're convicted in court, that's a 1 to 3 year driving prohibition from the court, plus a $2,000 to $10,000 fine. That's serious business. I don't understand why anyone would do anything as stupid as stunt driving, because that with that kind of, it's not just a $20 ticket. We're talking a serious impact. So it's $2,000 to $10,000 and up to 6 months in jail. Or to both. They're going to give you the jail and they can give you the dollar amount in addition to the suspension. Now, on a second conviction under the section, the suspension is no less than 3 years and no more than 10 years. So, yeah, you're going to take a lot of buses if you've done this more than once. And on your third, you lose your license for life. It's done. It's a lifetime ban. That also, of course, the cash, it comes every time, but you've got to be a special kind of person to go through this process and choose to do it again. And it happens because they wouldn't have written the law if it wasn't for the repeat offenders. What types of things? Oh, here. Al wants to know, what types of things to help become a TPS officer? You know what? Be a member of your community. Serve your community. Don't wait to become an applicant or do things just to get hired. Go and contribute to your community. Be a good person. That's what we want to hire, people who care about the people and the communities that we serve. It's not about ticking a box for an application. The recruiters are going to see that. But recruiting, or I should say that volunteerism is a big component of being a police officer. We do a lot of things on our own time because we care. And we want to see people who do that. A good driving record, huge. But of course, there's the basic stuff. Good physical aptitude, being able to pass the tests required. You can get information at tps.ca/careers. But you can also, you may want to invest in some tutoring to get your skills and abilities up with academics, because it's a test and it's a time test. So the faster you are, the more accurate you are, the better you're going to score. Education is a huge thing in terms of having continuous work and or education is important. Now, if you don't have a degree, is that a problem? No, you may have excellent work experience that makes up for that. Maybe you have real world experience. So don't discount yourself, but definitely you don't want to be, playing PS5 on the couch for 4 years and then apply thinking that that's a good thing. You got to be actively making yourself a better person every day. That's my advice. But if you have other questions, please feel free. Okay. Radix wants to know, this is an Instagram question. Sorry for ignoring the Instagram for a little while. Is running a red light the same charge as running a stop sign? No, it's not the same. In fact, that's reflected in the cost of the ticket as well. If you look at a stop sign ticket, that's $110. 3 demerit points, but $110. Failed to stop red light, I think it's $325. Let me see here. Is it disobey red light? Wording is funny. No, that's the wrong one. It's red light, failed to stop. I love the different things. Scrolling through a gazillion different things. Off-road, rules of the road. Red light, failed to stop. Yes, it is. 325, 3 demerit points. So a different charge. Obviously, the red light one is seen to be more serious. I think they're both horribly serious. I don't know why people can't manage themselves on the road, but I'm a stickler. I got a ticket for running a stop sign when I was a kid. You know how many stop signs I ran after that? And it wasn't even intentional. It was such a silly thing. I was 16 years old driving to meet a girl I liked, and I wasn't paying attention, and I ran a red light, and not a red light, a red stop sign, that octagon thing. And I know the officer to this day. I know the officer who gave me that ticket. Changed my life, changed my driving, made sure I was really focused, and it's a good thing. Tickets are there to motivate change. I say it all the time. We would love, with this educational business that we are in here, educating drivers on what the laws are, what the consequences are. Our goal ultimately is to be out of business. We don't need to. If everyone did the right thing, we wouldn't need to be here. We just hand out, lollipops and pat people on the back. I'd love to see a day when we don't have to write tickets anymore. And if everyone does the right thing, we won't. If we're issuing tickets, it means someone is willfully engaged in behavior that is unsafe. All these laws are just for that reason. Yeah. Okay. Why aren't motorcycles limited for speed? They do for trucks. Why not bikes? Why not? Why just bikes? This was another discussion in the whole traffic camera thing, and someone that regularly argues with me on Twitter. And I say argue; it's actually productive banter. This particular person is very pro bicycle. I ride bicycle, at least I used to, very actively. But they're very pro bicycle and seem to be very anti car, even though they say that they drive car too. So they would like to see, and I concur that this is actually something that I would endorse, geofenced speed control. So this is a technology, or the implementation of technology that would limit the maximum speed of a motor vehicle based on where they are. If you're on the road and the speed limit's 100, why do you need to go beyond 100? Let's take away that ability for you to go. What do you think? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? It's definitely a controversial thing. Now, I'm not saying that's the way to go, because I know as a police officer, I have to exceed the speed limit on occasion. But one of the reasons I have to exceed the speed limit is because everybody else is exceeding the speed limit. If we took that away, are we infringing on your rights to speed? It's the same. I don't think so, because you have no reason to speed, even though people like to. Like, if you're late for work, leave early. That's the answer to how to overcome, lateness. It's not to drive faster. In truth, and I do this every morning, and I have a lot of fun doing it. I might be sick and twisted in that way. I drive the speed limit, and it really upsets everybody else on the road. But it's the speed limit, so it shouldn't upset anyone, because no one should be going beyond it. I never touch the brake pedal the entire way to work. I never have to. But it's like strobe lights everywhere else. Everyone's faster, slower, faster, slower. Just set it and forget it. Drive the legal limit. It's so easy. It's relaxing. But I don't have a problem with the idea of taking speed limit, or invoking speed limitations personally. It's not a police platform. It's me saying, Sean Shapiro thinks that you should slow down, and I'm for anything that makes you slow down. Just saying. What's going to happen when we get into fully autonomous vehicles? Fully autonomous vehicles. The robots have to follow the law. They have those protocols, and they can't break them. I think that could actually make the roads a lot safer, because the biggest problem with most cars is the driver choosing to engage in unsafe behavior. Michael wants a lollipop from VZ. Mir Nagda says, is constant switching of lanes considered as stunt driving? Depends on it's not just changing of lanes left and right. That's not stunt driving. Changing lanes and weaving through traffic in a marked departure from the flow and general speed of traffic. So if everyone's doing 100 and you are zipping between traffic whilst accelerating and being unsafe, that could be careless driving for one. It could be even dangerous driving if depending on the perspective of the officer. But yeah, it's definitely not a good thing. That was a question coming in from Volley. Okay, Michael says G-Class has the most collisions and tickets and feels like they try to crash. G speed limiting is most, if not G needs speed limiting the most. Okay, so Michael, and forgive me if I'm incorrect on this, you're a truck driver, and is saying that people who drive G-Class licenses or drive G-Class vehicles are responsible for the most collisions. And I think just based on sheer numbers on the road, That's probably accurate. They represent the most number of vehicles on the road. There's a lot of bad drivers out there. They don't think they're bad, but they're actually not very good. Other countries have phenomenal drivers. Why? Because they have very, very, very difficult driving processes and tests that are strict. You start with a certain type of car. You have to move up in displacement, and you can't just buy any car you want the day you turn 16. Maybe that's that's a good thing. For motorcycles in other countries, very often it'll be you can have up to 500 cc, and then you can have up to like there's limitations. You can't buy the fastest motorcycle on the road when you first become a licensed operator. Interesting things. So are they trying to crash? I don't think anyone's trying to crash, but I think people may not be as good as they think they are. Let's see here. Question from Mr. Toe Shark. How successfully is slow down, move over enforced? Well, I can tell you that I have left the side of the road giving someone a break to go after the person who did not slow down and move over. I'd love to see this more enforced, but the problem is numbers. If we're actively involved in a call and someone doesn't slow down and move over, it requires somebody else to go after them. I can't leave the collision scene that I'm working on. If I'm with a tow truck operator because I'm involved, then I can. It's a different situation. But it depends. I don't know the stats on how many tickets are issued. I've issued quite a few of them. I want to protect the people who are working on the road because, and I'm assuming you're a tow operator, you're doing an essential service. You're getting people off the road into a safe location and helping the traffic move. So you're doing what you need to do. You need to be safe while you're doing it. Other drivers need to respect that. And if they can't, well, maybe they shouldn't be driving. It's a big ticket too. It's like $490, I think. Are tinted windows illegal? It used to be like every 5 questions like a year ago. It is less frequent a question now, maybe because everyone who's asked that question is still here and knows the answer already. But let's talk about it. The windows left and right of the driver are regulated along with the windshield. You cannot have any more than 30% light blockage, which means 70% of the tint or 70% of the light has to get through. If you have more than that, it's unsafe for the road. Could you lose your license plates? Yeah, it's an unsafe vehicle. If you have anything on the windshield, it's unsafe. And you can either lose your license plates or peel the tint off at the side of the road. Those are your options, but you're not driving away with it. Now, that's for safety. That's for being on the road at all. But then there's a charge. There's actually 3 charges under the HTA that are specifically dealing with tint. And that one of them is about seeing in, 2 of them are about seeing out. So if your view is obstructed because of the tint, well, obviously that means that you're eligible for that charge. But if I can't see in, if I can't see you wearing your seatbelt, using your cell phone, drinking alcohol, identifying you as a driver, if I can't see anything, well, that's a ticket. And it's $110 for obscure interior of motor vehicle with color or reflective tint. So there you go. People say, well, I can see just fine. Or it's great tint, I can see out, but you can't see in. It doesn't matter. You can't reduce the light transmission beyond 30%, and I need to be able to see in. And so does everybody else. So if you're involved in a motor vehicle collision and you decide to take off, I need to be able to identify the driver. And picking your nose in public in your car is not a reasonable justification. Also, sensitive eyes, not a reasonable justification. Buy sunglasses. I hear lots of excuses as to why people have to break the law, but none of them are acceptable. Good morning, Richard. Late to the party, but still here with only 8 minutes till the end of the show. Had to take a nap. I was going to ask you about that because on your social media, it appears you get a lot of naps, and I'm jealous. Okay. Now let's see here. Stewie wants to know, speeding is speeding. Why won't you stop someone going 4 to 6 kilometers over? Well, why don't I? Because there are so many people doing 20 and 40 over that my dance card is full. If I look up, there's someone who is going far faster than 4 to 6. Now, does that mean that the person going 4 to 6 over is justified in doing that? No, they're not. But unfortunately, they don't get the opportunity to be held accountable because there are so many people that are speeding so much more that the attention gets sucked up by them. That's the truth of it. We can't catch everybody, but I think we should. So that brings me back to the automated enforcement. Should we have a 0 tolerance policy? Should every car that does a kilometer over receive a ticket in the mail? A lot of people get upset about that. But is it wrong? No. The speed limit is the limit, not the maximum. Sorry, not the minimum, which means if you are driving 90 on the highway and it's a 100 limit, that's legal. That's safe. In fact, we tell people to slow down in certain road conditions. The maximum is perfect conditions, not the minimum. So when people get aggressive and start honking and tailgating because you're only doing the speed limit, they're in the wrong. They should be charged because you're doing the right thing if you're doing the speed limit. I encourage people to do the speed limit. It doesn't matter if people have a coronary because they don't like the fact that you're not speeding. But this is peer pressure. This is bullying on the road. If someone is trying to push you to go faster, they're in the wrong. And they will come down and they will say, wow, if you're driving the speed limit, you are part of the problem. You are the hazard. No, you're not. You're following the law. If you want the law changed, you can go do that. Talk to your MP, go talk to your government representative, go talk to the city who set the speed limits in most cases. If you're talking about highways, you're talking about provincial governments generally. Talk to them. Until the law is changed, follow the law or don't drive. Christine says, why can't police see if people have insurance? So we can sort of. We can see if you have a recent policy in terms of, like, when we look up, it says confirmed or unconfirmed. It doesn't say exactly what you have. So we still have to investigate. But we definitely have a clue. And automated license plate readers that are coming out or being deployed throughout the province, they link directly to the Ministry of Transportation. If someone has anything wonky with their insurance, we'll be alerted, which means a lot of people who have been getting away with stuff are going to be getting caught. And I think that's fabulous. I really do. It's almost 11, and my wife is reminding me that everyone should have a safe day. And that is really what we want everyone to do every day. The whole goal of what we do as traffic officers is to make sure that everyone is safe. We want to protect drivers from themselves, pedestrians from drivers, cyclists from drivers, and we also want to protect cyclists from pedestrians and pedestrians. We want to make sure everybody gets to where they're going safe and sound each and every day. We all love people, and people love us, hopefully, and we want to make sure that that there's no unnecessary death, and any death on the road is unnecessary. It's all Vision Zero concept. We get that minor collisions are going to occur, but the ones that lead to serious injury and death are totally preventable and totally unacceptable. Mike was ignored, and I want to just address their question, and that is, once for all, could you please clarify what kind of license plate are acceptable? Some people say no cover at all, including fully transparent cover. So, Mike, this is a great question. Sorry for leaving you to the very end. Hopefully you're here to watch it. The answer is no license plate cover is legal regardless of color. Clear, tinted, polarized, smoked, textured, frame only, the one that comes for free from your dealership that advertises their salesman's information. Anything on top of a license plate is illegal, period. No license plate cover is legal at all. I think I've covered every particular option. In fact, a dirty license plate, a peeling license plate, an obstructed license plate with a bicycle rack, all of those things are illegal. So if you have any of those things, you're in violation. It's a $110 fine, and you shouldn't be doing it. I understand some people want to put their license plate covers on to protect their vanity plates or their prized ABC 123. There's no excuse. You can't have them. I don't know why they sell them, other than the fact that they're not regulated. You can't prevent someone from selling a piece of plastic because there's nothing in the books that says selling a piece of plastic is illegal. Using it on the highway, however, is regulated. So don't do that. Mir wants to know, how do you guys conduct a traffic stop with a motorbike on the highway if they decide to run? Well, if they run, it is now a pursuit and not a traffic stop. But there's a lot of different ways that we can approach it. There's different traffic stop techniques. One of the best ones is before we even light you up, we get your license plate information, or we phone a friend. We get tactical and plan ahead. It's chess, not checkers. But if you run, you take a simple traffic stop and turn it into a criminal event. So we'll arrest you later. That's how we roll. All right. With that, I wish you a wonderful day. Hope you are safe and happy and warm, because I understand the weather is going to get nasty. And if that turns out to be fake news, I hope it's a sunny day, because I got stuff to do outside when I get home, and I'd prefer it not to snow. So with that, have a wonderful day. I'll do a little music outro. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., just like today, except it'll be tomorrow. It's reasonable, right? If you haven't already checked out the video we posted on TikTok, please check it out. Not that we need 1 million likes, but it's always nice to get some views, to hear your comments on these things. Why is it so loud? There we go. So many faders. I don't know which fader to use. So check out the video. I'm going to post it on Instagram as well, because I haven't posted a reel there in a few days. We want to get it out on all the platforms, but we've got a couple that are really doing well, so check them out. Comment, engage, interact. Let me know what you think. I'm always interested in hearing your opinions, so share them with me, and we'll talk about them tomorrow. So have a great day. Stay safe. That was good timing at the end of the thing.